You know what I come to Dungeons and Dragons for? Overly convoluted 35 level proficiency systems. Ah, yes, my favorite. So a bit ago, I was running a game on a D&D server on Discord that has been since deleted. Two of my friends had joined and I was looking for 1 to 2 extra players. Now here is where that guy in the title joins. This guy says he's interested and I tell him there is a space. So he rolls for stats and he rolls like a 94 for stats with 2 18s. Very shocking to say the least. A day goes by, a day before session 1, where he DMs me about his character with this. Is it okay if my bard is a 5-year-old Dampier? Now, this is, well, a weird question to say the least, but I usually let people play whatever they want. However, this game is starting with a person hiring a group to spy on a cult of druids in a nearby village that's acting cultish. I told him no, because no one would hire a 5-year-old, but then he said, but every other game I've played with allows me to play 5-year-olds, 3-year-olds, and 2-year-olds. Now, there's nothing wrong, albeit boring, to play humans, only play elves, or only play wizards, but only playing children, especially that young, is a big red flag, plus really questionable. Plus, isn't the whole fun of playing Dampier/vampires that you're thousands of years old anyways? He threatened to tell the server owner that I was being a garbage DM. I don't know why, but I caved in and allowed him to do this. The next day, we were preparing our characters, and he sent an image of a character that looked like an anime Dampier to the Discord chat. I searched it up through reverse image, and it didn't take long to find some questionable animes attached to it. I didn't bring it up, but I did talk about it with 2 friends of mine who were playing, and they wondered what the hell that art was, as they had searched it up themselves to the same results. I told them that this player was playing a 5-year-old, and they could tell I didn't like it, so they told me they knew one person that was interested in the game who wasn't on the server, and I decided to feign COVID and say I couldn't run it, and made a different server to run the game in. TLDR, that guy wanted to play a 5-year-old Dampier. I said no, and he called me a bad DM for not allowing him to play a toddler because everyone else allows him to play Rugrats. Look, I don't understand why someone would want to play a 5-year-old, but yeah, it is definitely weird, and acknowledging that it's weird is kind of important. Look, the DM probably did the right thing here. It is a very strange habit to constantly play children. Frankly, this is probably not something you're going to see as a DM nor as a player. You're not going to see people who constantly want to play 5-year-olds, or at least I hope not. So here's a little bit more proper advice that might be a little bit more universal. If someone wants to play something in your game that you don't see as appropriate, have a discussion about it, but try to be stern. This is definitely something that's inappropriate, playing a 5-year-old, and the fact that the guy constantly plays 5-year-olds, it's a bit of a red flag. Having a stern discussion with your players about what content is or is not allowed in your game is very important. It's all about communication. So make sure to have those discussions because it can really save your game from something really bad happening. Okay, next story. This story happened last September, and when I found this sub, I felt I should post it. Mention of attempted sexting at the end, nothing graphic, and sorry for format, I'm on mobile. So I started my first year of college, and was missing my friends back home. I was feeling lonely and didn't know what to do. That was when my brother came up to me. We had some of the same friends, and they all wanted to play D&D together. I had DM'd for them a couple of times, one-shots and stuff like that. They were hoping that I was available to DM again because they enjoyed my style. I agreed and the party was formed. These are the players. I will refer to them by their character names. Thank God, no more acronyms. Me, the DM, writes a lot of homebrew campaigns that mean a lot to me. Tunnels, my brother, the crazy warlock looking for his lost uncle. Celeste, the strong and off-putting dragonborn cleric looking for god items. Belvon, a paladin for a sex cult trying to find new followers. Riza, a quiet bard that is trying to escape her family. And Gus, a rogue who is just looking for money. Gus was our problem player. How is it not the okay, never mind. I had mentioned to the players before we started, and before any other game with them, that I don't like murder hobos. That if they wanted to have a game where they can just go around and kill people, I can write one, but that I had put too much work into the game we were going to play to have them just go around and kill everything. They all agreed that they didn't want to play murder 24/7, and so we started the campaign. Session 1 started the mess. Like how many campaigns start, the party meets in the tavern, and immediately has to save tunnels from these spies who want to kill him. They defeat 2 out of the 3, and they question the 3rd. After questioning the willing spy, they need to decide what to do with him. While the debate went on, all Gus would say was just kill him. The others didn't like the idea and refused. Eventually, the spy joined the party. That concluded Session 1. Session 2. Gus would ask to kill almost every NPC they came across, earning in-character responses from Belvon, Riza, and Celeste. After he didn't listen and kept on doing the same crap, he got out-of-character responses from Tunnels and Belvon, both saying that it isn't fun for everyone if you just kept on trying to kill everything. I wouldn't allow Gus to try to kill something without party approval, because I wanted them to work together and solve their problems. Session 3 was much like Session 2, but we had been playing for a month now. He had gotten on the nerves of all the other party members and brought down the energy of the party. I ended up privately asking him to stop. His next issue was out of our sessions. We were messaging on Discord for game-related things when I mentioned I was in the middle of a Zoom class that I wasn't paying attention to. He proceeded to ask something about all the things I could do while my camera was off for the meeting. I joked back, saying something along the lines of, I have fallen asleep in class before, and he responds by bringing up masturbation? I was shocked knowing that I was 18 at the time and he was a 15-year-old, not to mention he was my younger brother's friend. I told him it was inappropriate and that I would not engage in any form of sexual conversation with him, and that it's just wrong. He tried to backtrack, saying he had mental health problems, that he'd cope by having sexual conversations online with people, even if they are over the age of 18. I said that he shouldn't be doing that, it is dangerous, and he should talk to a mental health expert for that kind of issue. He just said he would, and I stopped really messaging him after that. Before the next session, he said that he wouldn't be able to show up for a while, which we accepted, and asked if he would be back. He said yes, and we would continue without him. He'll have his character leave for the time being. There was an understanding he would be back after a month, and we continued on our way. Well, he never came back and was ghosted by everyone from the group. I only remembered he was still in the group chat because I saw him the other day while at my brother's play. I don't know if it was the fact that I wouldn't sext him or the fact that the party wouldn't let him murder hobo everything that caused him to leave, but I doubt he'll ever come back. Horny teenagers, that's a new one. Yeah, this is just bad. Guys, even if you're young and naive, you're still old enough to realize that this kind of behavior is not appropriate. So don't do this at all, just don't. This is an out-of-game thing. Don't engage in this kind of behavior, and if it does happen for some ungodly reason, do what OP did, do the right thing, and shut it down as fast as humanly possible. Preferably instantaneously. This happened last year. We were playing a homebrew campaign online with one of my friends as the DM. This will be missing a lot of details that I will skip for the sake of keeping this a little shorter. So we were around our 7th session. We were a party of 6, but that day we only had 4 players. The DM, the cleric, the ranger with a panther pet, myself as the barbarian, and finally a Kensei monk, aka that guy / the samurai. A bit of background. We were a trading company disguised as an adventurer's party. Our main goal was to sell goods, and all of us had different talents. The cleric was a fisherwoman. The Kensei was an artist. One of the players that was not there was a smith, and myself and the ranger were hunters and leather workers. It is important to remember what kinds of things we do as a party. We were on a mission. We were traveling on a magical flying carpet under the big desert on a trip that took us a couple of days. Our party was bored, poor, and hungry. I myself was tired of eating rations, and then we saw a rock in the distance. I decided the idea of hunting it for food, specifically because after a nature check, the DM told me its feathers would be worth a little bit of a fortune. This was perfect for our group since we were merchants and little fortunes speak loudly. Besides, we had just left a town where we had bought a bunch of new equipment and we were all low on money. I even had to ask for some money from the ranger to buy our new axe. I called for a vote to hunt or not hunt the rock. The Kensei voted no. Apparently, he was taught not to harm nature and that the rock was not messing with us, so we shouldn't do it because it was not honorable, and not something his master would have liked, even though until now the Kensei had already killed multiple animals for food. I tried to convince him that honor was relative and that nature is just like this sometimes. I was a totem warrior barbarian, raised by druids, but to no avail. In the end, I just said, "Hey, we are hungry and this is just nature being nature." The ranger immediately agrees with me and votes yes. The cleric, again our leader, says it is best for the company. We are in a desert and we need food and money for the next town we get to, so she said yes as well. Since it was 3 against 1, obviously we decided to proceed. The Kensei refuses to take part in the fight, not even if they are dying. He would just be inside the tent on the flying carpet. The encounter began, and it was actually a fun one because it was mid-air, so stakes were literally high. We quickly found out that this bird may have been more than we could chew. Our cleric goes down on turn 2. After seeing this, the Kensei laughed and said, "I will leave the chat room and come back once this is over. I want nothing to do with this. Don't ask for my help." Eventually, my barbarian goes down too, and the ranger pet decides it will fight. This was just a regular pet, not a combat animal companion. The poor panther goes down, and because of its low HP pool, it dies automatically. Luckily, that bought time for our ranger to finish the rock off, but we almost wiped. The Kensei rejoins the game, and we were just having a funeral for the panther at that moment. My player character was, in character, very upset at the Kensei and told him, "The pet's blood is on your hands and your blade." This shocked the player, and he started to say, "You should have called me. Of course I would have helped my friend." Side note, the Kensei was friends with the ranger both in character and out of character. The party leader cleric out of character says, "You told us specifically not to call you," and I added, "Besides, this was your decision both in and out of character." The Kensei rage quits and says he is tired of playing D&D with me specifically. Yes, he apparently had a bone to pick with me for a while now. We had been playing together with the same DM for about 2 years. I didn't know he had something against me, but to be honest, I was glad he quit because I was not a fan of him either. Now I don't have to deal with his anime crap shenanigans every time, especially as a DM. After that situation, the party finished the funeral, and I, in character, made a totem with one of the panther paws for the ranger to carry as an amulet. This was a nice RP moment that allowed us to continue the session with no issue. We then proceeded to almost wipe again versus a bone naga. I decided to tell this story because last week our group, with me as the DM now, were telling RPG stories and we remembered this one. Everyone ranted about how that player only cared about his characters and had the bad manner of leaving the table/chat when his character was not under the spotlight. Out of character, the ranger player also stopped being friends with him. Not the worst thing in the world, but yeah, this isn't great. It's part of that principle of you need to make characters that go along with party decisions in the end. Having an incohesive party or a party that fights against itself is usually not fun. That doesn't mean you can't have character disagreements, but when the chips are down, characters should work together. The PCs in my game disagree all the time about how good NPCs are. That's a great example. Some NPCs in my game are fairly divisive. Players will have in-character debates about whether or not they should work with these morally questionable characters. But when the chips are down, the characters still fight besides one another to make sure nobody dies. And also, it is bad manners, in my opinion, to just leave the group chat, especially for a reason like that. I know D&D combat can be tedious sometimes when you're not playing, but still, it's just good manners to stick around. Because you're there for the game. What's the point of being there for the game if you're not going to be in the game? Overall, bad manners and a little bit of bad play. Alright, and I think that's going to be the last story. If you guys enjoyed this episode of RPG Horror Stories, then please do leave a like. If you want to see more episodes of this series, as well as my other content, then please hit subscribe. And finally, if you want to leave your own thoughts or stories, go down to the comments down below. In essence, like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all next time. Farewell.